Auntie Chip. Auntie Chip, FaceTime.
Good evening and welcome to this special presentation of TV Bakwetu. I'm your host, Linda Banks, and I've got a couple of guests who are going to be joining us. But before we get started, if you could kindly share this broadcast to at least 5 of your friends, which would be wonderful. And would you kindly just let us know where you're watching us from, and we can give you a special hello. Obviously, it's Africa Freedom Day today. And we're asking this big question, is Africa truly free? And to get us started in discussing this topic, I have a special guest by the name of Dr. Becks Banda. Now, Dr. Becks Banda has been in the news lately for claiming, I will use the word claiming until he actually tells us more about what he's been up to. He's been in the news, challenging people who he feels have stolen his innovation. And I'm going to ask him to join us right now so that he can just say hello. Dr. Becks Banda, welcome to TV Bakwetu. Well,
Oh,
I should
thank
say,
you so much.
yeah,
I'm so
happy
happy to be at TV Bakwetu.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're so welcome.
Thanks.
So it's African Freedom Day, so I thought it would be a perfect time actually to bring you here. Um,
Sure.
how are you celebrating? How are you commemorating this special day?
Yeah, first and foremost, for me, this is a very special day. I'm a Pan-Africanist. I'm a believer of our forefathers, the Kwame Nkrumahs, Dr. Kaunda, Thomas Sankara, and all those, great fathers who really wanted Africa to be purely liberated beyond, independence liberation. So
Mm.
I'm celebrating because I'm reflecting and, trying to analyze whether we are going the direction of our forefathers or we are actually still being, colonized, in some ways.
Do you feel we're going in the direction of our forefathers? Do you think us as a brand new generation of Africans we're doing enough to remember the things that our forefathers did for us to be where we are?
Not really. The imperialists have actually recolonized most of our head of states because we have actually gone away, very, very far away from the realization of the dream of our forefathers. So we have a lot of puppet leadership, in Africa, and we are hoping that our generation, us who are being born, who were born after 24th October 1964, should be able to go back after we retire those who were born, before 1964, so that we can realize the vision of our forefathers. We are not going the right direction, but this is the time that we as Africans should stop, should speak one language, and we need to go back to the vision of one Africa, one voice, and one continent, one currency, all those dreams of our forefathers, where we liberate ourselves as Africans, not to be recolonized in the name of imperialism, in the name of private sector. We don't want that.
Well, this leads me quite nicely to your quest. You are on a special quest, but before we dive deep into this quest that you're on, I would just like to say a quick hello to some of our viewers. Let me just see who's joining us. We have Leah Mukungu, very impressive. Nick, play the Dog's new song by Pilato. Ah, uh, if you're lucky, Steve, I will ask Doc to actually send it to me. I don't actually have that song. Elias, it's hi, Linda. Watching you from Lusaka. We've got Nick Msonda. Welcome, TV Bakwetu. I did not understand why he was upset. Great guest. Okay, he's going to explain a little bit more why he was upset. But who else is watching? Stephen watching from Itezi Tezi. Wow, that's impressive. Yvonne Smwaka, I see you, boy, Odishan. I'm fine, but I seem to have lost my voice. I make a living with my voice, and I have pretty much been talking the whole day. So my voice, so I've got a glass of water right in front of me in case. And I also have Mr. Chulufia, who's got endless talk time. So if in case my voice disappears completely, he can jump in. Lovely. So Dr. Becks Banda, could you just kindly tell us a little bit about yourself? Let's start right from the beginning. Who are you? And you've got a doctorate. What do you have a doctorate in? And
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So basically, I'm a public health specialist. I have my first degree in youth and community education, and I majored in public health, and my master's is also in public health, and my doctorate is actually in public health. So I am a public health specialist with an interest in youth and community education.
oh, that's
Yeah.
fun. Really good. And where did you study that?
I'm a student of Huddersfield University. Yeah, I'm a graduate of Huddersfield University.
And which part of Zambia do you come from?
I live in Lusaka. I stay in Lusaka, Zambia. I am a civil society activist. I run an NGO called Youth Culture Promotion Association, but I think I've also been a consultant for so many years in the public, sector. I've been a consultant in more than 5 to 7, construction companies, where I, teach the workers and the roadside communities on the dangers of public health, HIV, AIDS, gender, you name it. But I think I've
Mm.
spent so many years running HIV, AIDS, and public health activities throughout my life.
I'm particularly interested in the what you're calling safe motherhood action groups. So if perhaps start from there, could you just tell us a little bit about that and how it came to be?
Wow, thank you so much. The Safe Motherhood Action Group is actually an end product of the Theatre for Community Action, which I innovated in the year 2002. So in my life, for the last like 35 years, I've been engaged in using theater as a pedagogy in educating the community in public health. So in the process of using theater, there came a time, around 2000 when donors and stakeholders started questioning whether theater, is sustainable, whether theater, has, the justification of being given the resources that we are getting for the donors, because it was just a one-off activity on the market, in a school, on the ground. And then they were finding it very difficult to monitor it, and they were finding it very difficult to make follow-ups. So it was threatening, my organization, which purely depended on theater and my artists. So I decided to, ask some partner called Rick from Japaigo, Zambia, after I wrote a concept called, that gave birth to 7 Aside, to answer 3 questions that the donors were worried about. One, they wanted to find out if we need to continue funding your organization that uses theater. You need to prove to us that, one, your theater will be sustainable, your theater activities will be traceable and will be able to follow up even after 6 months after a live performance. We need to see, the impact of drama if we want to do our monitoring. And the other aspect was that your theater can only reach, for example, 2,000 people. How are you going to make sure that your theater reaches more than 2,000, people beyond? And I came up with a concept. One was to name the activity that I am doing. If it's dealing with, maternal mortality, I named it, SMUGS, because the end product of my activity was dealing with maternal mortality. I've been a member of the White Ribbon Alliance for Safe Motherhood for quite some time. And when I wrote a proposal, they gave me 17,000 Zambian kwacha now to test my model in 4 places, in Chawama, in Kamanga, and I also went to Wafwano, as well as in Chipata compound. So how did I come up with this model, SMUG? We actually had a collection of about 15 drama groups that I brought together under my funding. We did, the auditions, and we picked the best drama groups in Lusaka, and we came up with a play called Achidongo. So after the drama play, which was provoking, the drama that was trying to encourage women to deliver from the health facilities, the drama that was encouraging women not to, give birth through the, traditional birth attendants, and it was also trying to prepare men to make sure that they don't wait at the last minute when a woman is pregnant. That's when now they are getting a wheelbarrow, or now they are telling a woman to go to the facility, walking, who is supposed to give birth. But we are also trying to encourage families, to do the birth preparedness, plan, so that they keep some money in their homes. So the drama was bringing out all these issues to educate the women who are pregnant and the family members to support pregnant women. Now, the difference with this drama was that after the drama ended, I had started engaging the audience in the question to answer session, where they brought in new information which the drama did not even know. And finally, I challenged them with my team that, are you ready to solve these problems you are sharing with me? And they had agreed. And I said, okay, if you are ready to solve this problem, can you form a group, an action group, so that that action group now we train it, that action group now we build capacity in it, so that now it goes beyond the live performance to start educating other women, to mobilize as many women as possible to come to the health facilities. This is how I formed the first SMUG, which was launched at Blue Water Montel in 2002 in Chawama Clinic, and I established the first one at Chawama Clinic.
Fantastic. Now, how did the UNFPA come to be involved in this?
After a successful launch of 4 SMUGs, as I've said, one at Wafwano, one at Chawama Clinic, the other one at at Chipata Clinic, and the fourth one, it was actually in at a place called Kamanga. We started giving them material, the White Ribbon Alliance, and they started going out into the community to mobilize women. So it became a best practice. It started doing very, very well in Lusaka. Now, the national coordinator of the White Ribbon Alliance, Madam Irene Singogo, was hired by UNFPA as a consultant to go and help them do a rapid assessment in Northwestern Province.
If you could just tell us what this organization is, first of all, for the sake of our viewers who don't know anything about this organization. What is it, and where is it based? Where are their headquarters?
My organization is based in the UNFPA. The UNFPA, it's actually an agency of the UN, and it is actually based here in Lusaka in the UN building. Okay, so it is a UN agency. United Population Fund is a UN agency that is based here in Lusaka. And these are the people who actually talk about human rights. These are the people who would like to talk about justice, so they are a UN agency. So when they hired Madam Irene Singogo, Madam Irene Singogo went to share with them in a workshop how my organization has implemented a very successful program in Lusaka. And because they were starting their 6th country program in Zambia, they became interested in what I was doing in Lusaka. So they told Madam Irene Singogo to get in touch with me in Lusaka and promised that they would like to partner with me so that they can also use that model in Northwestern Province. So I was contacted by UNFPA.
Okay, so you were contacted. The innovation, because
yes,
you've been demonstrating and you've been causing quite a racket about the whole thing. Now, did you patent it? Do you have copyrights to this product? And does this organization know that this is your baby? You made it. This is your birth child.
Comrade, when I was contacted, they did not just contact me. They even invited me. I went to Northwestern Province in 2002, 2003. I went to train 2 local drama groups, Chamwanza and Chachindende, in how to form SMUGs in Northwestern Province under them, because I was just waiting to sign a contract with them. So after training those 2 drama groups, I even did a demo performance at Chief Mwena's Palace and came back to Lusaka, waiting for them to sign a contract with me. 3 months later, I saw them with T-shirts written, "A product of UNFPA" on ZNBC television. And then when I tried to get in touch with them, they said, no, we can't use a drama group or an organization from Lusaka. We'll use, groups here in Northwestern Province. Now, asking about, protection, surely, Safe Motherhood Action Group is actually, protected under the laws of Zambia. I protected it with Zambia Information and Broadcasting, who actually are the custodians of the performing arts and literary arts. But also under the Berne Convention, the day I exhibited it and performed SMUGS and established it and it started working under the Berne Convention, which Zambia is a member, it automatically became my property for whole of my life. And 50 years after I die, SMUG will remain mine and it is mine. So apart from just that automatic protection, I have protected it with the government of Zambia, and I've shared all these documents with UNFPA. We have had meetings since 2013, and they've been telling me that their headquarters is in the States, and they always talk about not having the lawyers to represent them, so they know.
Very much. So now it's been literally over 15 years. Oh, yeah. Just
20 years precisely.
20 years.
Yes.
And now, why are you making such a racket now? People will be asking, why are you making all this noise now? 20 years before, you didn't think about taking your case up with them? What has changed? What has prompted you to pick this fight up again?
First and foremost, 4 years ago, I actually picked a physical demonstration. I got a police permit. We went with my artist there. We demonstrated, and we were welcomed by, the country UN representative, Rogan. Janet Rogan welcomed us. They invited the UNFPA leaders, and we started chatting. Rogan started communicating with UNFPA headquarters. So they told me that it is receiving attention 4 years ago to the headquarters. I even applied to WIPO so that WIPO can be able to mediate between UNFPA and myself. I signed the documents that WIPO wanted us to do, and I was ready to pay WIPO for their allowance. UNFPA refused to do that. But you also realize that in 2009, UNFPA wrote to the Ministry of Health in Zambia, telling them that SMUG is their initiative, and lobbied them to put it into the policy. And when you look at all the local and international research, evaluation reports, UNFPA clearly states that this is their innovation, which they innovated in 23. They said they are the first one to establish this best practice. So they've gotten all the credits in local and international conferences and documents. People, are getting their masters and their PhDs with a lie from an international organization which is under the UN, who actually are the hosts of WIPO, and they are the hosts of the Berne Convention. So why this noise now? Last week, I went to make a follow-up after I put a demand that I needed them to compensate me. They gave me an appointment to go to the UN building. They said, okay, we shall meet you on Monday at 10 hours. So I actually just followed them because they wanted me to go and discuss with them. When I reached there, they sent me security guards. And they were telling those security guards to attend to me. I said, but I'm here on your appointment. And then you want me to be attended by the security guards? And I wanted to tell them that, look, under the UN now, in 2017, they released what they are calling a law book. And in that law book, they've now allowed international organizations that are operating in states to apologize and compensate all those people that they've actually, offended. This is because of the case study of what happened in Haiti, where the UN peacekeepers took cholera in Haiti, and they were trying to hide in the name of immunity, which is a colonial issue, which is an oppressive, law. So because they were trying to hide in this in the immunity in Haiti, several lawyers gathered together and they won a case against the UN. And it is from there that now there's a new document under the UN that allows UNFPA to compensate me as the owner of SMUGS. So I went to engage them so that we could actually follow what the UN is talking about.
So basically, all you're looking for is compensation for.
It's compensation because I have two rights under the copyright. I have the moral right. They can't do anything without my consent. They can't replicate, they can't implement, they can't write in any literature without my consent. I also have what they call economic right, where they're supposed to be paying royalty for using my innovation. This is the best practice, comrade. When I innovated SMUGS, Zambia was recording 729 deaths out of the 100,000 live births. 20 years down the line, Zambia is recording 235 deaths out of the 100,000 live births. And when you look at a lot of literature and research, including the official Zambian demographic research, is showing that SMUG has contributed greatly. As I'm speaking to you, SMUG is in 98% of the health facility in Zambia. There's no any other initiative that has worked in the last 20 years than SMUGs in issues of health promotion, more especially in issues of maternal health. So I am supposed to be recognized for contributing so greatly to my own country using an initiative that was born by the indigenous people. I have lost out so much.
Thank you very much. So now with obviously clearly with the new government and with the president who is an advocate for all these things, what do you think, what are you hoping to happen?
I am very happy with I'm actually very excited, and one thing that even gave me strength to go to the UN agency now is the stance that the new government has taken. The president has made it very clear that he would like to follow up criminal or injustices that happened before, now, and in the future. And SMUG is an issue of yesterday. And this government has made it very, very clear that it would like to operate within the laws. And UNFPA has broken the laws of Zambia. It has broken the Zambian, copyright policy, the Zambian Act on Policy, the Berne Convention, and the government of Hakainde Hichilema is not tolerating any manner of criminal, be it intellectual, property or any crime. So as far as we are concerned in Zambia now, we are having a very fertile environment for us to rise up and make sure that all those who connived, to hinder Zambian people who are creative, get what belongs to them. So the government of Hakainde Hichilema is a motivation to me. And I am really depending on the government to investigate this matter because it is in black and white. It is not anything that, people cannot fail to follow. All the artists I worked with, those who performed with me are still alive. The 4 institutions where I first put the SMUGs, they are all ready and they are actually witnesses. I also have to mention it that a Minister of Health and World Vision are actually in court because they are the victims of UNFPA who cheated to them that it is the UNFPA project, and they ended up now having 65 local and international organizations working on my SMUG product.
Thank you very much. That you've clearly got all the evidence that you need, and you've got the artists who are still alive to testify that they've worked with you on this project. So surely it can't be that complex to prove that this is your innovation. And it's quite sad actually, because there's been a lot of Africans, including African Americans, like from the 1900s to 2021, who came up with certain inventions or contributed to amazing inventions, including the light bulb, which is credited to Thomas Edison as having been the person behind this invention. It's just sad that especially today we are celebrating African Freedom Day, and yet Africans truly are not free to actually own their own copyrights towards their own innovations, or even just they're not economically free. Mr. Chimba, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Linda. Hello, Dr. Banda, how are you?
I can't hear Mr. Chimba.
Oh, really? Can you hear me now?
You are still mute, Mr. Chimba.
No, I him. You've just muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. My question to you, Mr. Chimba, is the Negro free?
Sorry, repeat that question. You trailed off.
Is the African man free?
Oh, great, great question. Especially that we're commemorating, Africa Day today. Um, Before I answer that question, we have to ask
I
ourselves.
can't hear Mr. Chimba.
Really? Linda, can you hear me?
I can hear you crystal clear.
Okay.
What's going on with your sound?
Not.
I'll be the questions. If you ask him, I will repeat the questions.
Okay, great.
Carry on, please.
Great. So the question we have to ask ourselves first is, what is freedom, right? Freedom can be defined at many levels: political freedom, economic freedom, social freedom, freedom at a personal level. You see that? But when we go through these definitions of freedom, we'll be able to pluck out those things that we don't have, which make freedom a pipe dream. For instance, look at most African countries today, right? Using the Human Freedom Index, there's probably only about 16 countries, maybe this has reduced to 15, that are considered free, partially free, and not free. You see that? Let's look at human rights, for instance, as part of the freedom spectrum. What rights do people have to property, for instance? What rights do Africans have to economic participation? What rights do Africans have to freedom of speech, freedom of association, and things like that? And the biggest problem here is the fact that we are living in neo-colonial times where political freedom was given to us when we gained independence, but not economic freedom. And I always argue that I think the white man was clever enough back then to sit back when all these uprisings started, where Africans wanted, to liberate themselves. They looked at the numbers. How many Africans versus us colonizers? Obviously, the numbers were skewed towards us Africans, right?
Yeah.
So they figured there's no way they can keep fighting that battle, the political battle. So what they did was they left in place structures, economic structures that would make us politically independent, but economically dependent on them.
Yeah.
Is it little wonder that Africa possesses the majority of the mineral wealth, right? But in terms of global trade, I think it only contributes about 3% of global trade, right? Why is that? Can you imagine a time when we as Africans literally look ourselves in the eyes and say, we are not economically independent because we keep trading with our former colonizers, European countries, the US, and things like that?
So who do you should be trading with?
We should increase trade amongst ourselves. And this is how we can do it, right? Right now, intra-African trade is probably at 2.6%, which is very, very sad. You see that? But what we can do is we need to look at the strengths of each African country. What is it that Zambia has? Develop that competitive advantage, right? If copper is our strength, if agriculture is our strength, what in agriculture is our strength? Develop that competitive advantage. Let's look at Ghana. What does Ghana have? South Africa, Botswana, and the like. We must increase trade amongst ourselves. If we don't do that, we'll keep talking about freedom, and to me, that will just be basically a swan song, right? By increasing trade within ourselves, we'll be able to control economic power. We have to have our own banks. We have to develop an African indigenous economic and financial system.
Yeah.
Those are the things that we need to do in order to develop ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excellent. Thank you very much. So we need to have our own banks, which it's quite fascinating actually, because I'll give you an example. Like the Chinese, they come to Africa or any other continents or countries even, and they establish their own banks.
Yeah.
So which is quite fascinating. That is really important. Mr. Shufel, the program.
Thank you so much, Madam Banks.
Lovely. The question at hand is the Negro man free? Is the African man? And what is your understanding of freedom?
Freedom is not necessarily out of prison or ruling yourselves. I think freedom is to be able to like Africans, to be able to make our own decisions, to be able to. I'll give an example. What Kelvin said is true. Abasungu, they gave us independence not because they wanted. They realized that so many people are going to die, and so let's give them independence. But even when they were giving us that independence, they didn't want us to be free financially. They still wanted to control us. If you remember, Dr. James Musonda was here. He talked about how even after independence, the whites were controlling the mines. Kaunda tribe got up to 69%, 61%, got everything. But even when ZCCM was ZCCM, copper prices were still controlled in London Metal Exchange. Does London produce copper? Where are the largest reserves of copper in the world? They're in Africa. If you combine Congo and Zambia, we are the largest in the world, those two countries. So why is copper prices controlled by the West? If today we decided to grab all the mines in Zambia by force, the copper prices will fall up to $1,000 per ton.
How can the African man emancipate himself?
Now, the point is unity, but it's not easy because somebody mentioned, I think it's Dr. Banda, puppet generation. We've got leaders who are puppets to the West. I'll give an example. Certain French countries, they're still fighting up to today because the French wants them to fight so that they can get their mineral resources. Certain African countries, their reserve banks are still controlled by the French. They have to remit money in France. Gaddafi's ideas, if Africa was serious, would have liberated Africa. Gaddafi wanted to introduce a lot of things. And what happened? The West wasn't happy. They got rid of him. I'm not scared. They can come and arrest me. But that was the idea. If Africa had united, because Mrs. Banks, why should you have a London Metal Exchange? And yet the largest reserves of copper are in Africa, Congo and Zambia combined. Why didn't we have a Johannesburg Stock Metal Exchange? So that's the biggest problem we've got. And if we are not careful, we will still be controlled. Because look at the copper in Zambia. They don't want even to pay taxes. They don't want to pay royalties. They are using transfer pricing. Switzerland, can you believe it, guys, and the audience? The largest exporter of copper in the world is Switzerland.
Shocking.
But does Switzerland produce copper?
On that point, that thought, I remember earlier on with my students, we were talking about.
So how can Africa grow when Africa is the largest producer of copper, but at the world market, Switzerland is the largest producer of copper?
Exactly. Just hold that thought for a moment. I was going to give you another very good example based on what you've just said. We were having this discussion with students, and this was about the cocoa beans. And most of them were thinking, these are like college students, were thinking that America or Britain produces cocoa beans, and the largest consumers of chocolate is Switzerland. You know, Swiss chocolate is like renowned, and yet South America produces the largest amount of cocoa beans in the entire world, and yet they are not even on the index of larger, countries that make enough money out of the chocolate that is consumed in the West. So it's a very good example of what you're just saying.
And Mrs. Banks, to add on that, after South America, the second two countries who produces cocoa is Ghana and Ivory Coast.
Exactly.
And these are African countries.
And again, they were not on the index that we're looking at, which is quite shocking.
because Ghana and Ivory Coast export somewhere. You know, there's this thing of other countries buying our products and then sell them buy them at a lower price, like copper.
Yeah.
They sell them to Switzerland because that's where the havens are, what they call tax havens. So what they are trying to do is, we don't want to pay higher taxes in Zambia. Why can't we transfer the copper to Switzerland? This is what is transfer pricing.
Yeah.
And then once it gets into Switzerland, because Switzerland has got lower taxes, they call them tax havens. And then Switzerland now exports to other countries. So Switzerland now has been on record is the largest exporter of copper from Zambia.
I know. Now, thinking about the emancipation of the African man, and when I say man, I do not mean a man, but as the Africans collectively, you know, men and women, having a look at what Dr. Banda is experiencing, he's come up with this concept, with this brilliant idea, which has reduced the deaths of mothers, pregnant women, really large numbers, and yet he's not actually being remunerated for his innovation. What is your view on that?
It's still the problem, because if he was remunerated or recognized, then an African was going to be recognized. It's a big problem, Madam Banks. They don't want an African to be recognized, because once an African recognized, then all the resources, the money will go to Africa. So until us Africans come together and unite and work as one, because what the whites do is divide and rule. They divide us and they continue ruling us, because they know that if we are united, they are gonna lose. I'll give an example. Congo and Zambia, we've got the largest reserves of copper.
Mm-hmm.
There is a boom coming in the next. I'll give you an example. Scotland has already passed a law. In 2040, there won't be any diesel car, any petrol car. So which means we have to use electric cars. So what are the electric cars going to require? Copper and some other minerals. They only found in Congo and Zambia. So why can't Zambia take advantage, leverage that opportunity, come together with Congo and start producing the things that are required for the electric cars, and then most of that copper will remain here. Even South Africa start producing mass, electric car batteries, which requires copper and other minerals. Then the West now will be at they will be now fighting for copper from us. Then we can now sell that copper at a higher price to them, or sell them finished products. We've already added value, because as long as we are not adding value to that copper, we are not going to get anything. Because they will be, Mrs. Banks, at the world market, copper is about 10,000. And then PFI signed a deal now with Vendetta that talk about extra $3,000. Where do you find such a thing?
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Dr. Becks Banda, any view based on what the two gentlemen have said? Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, though, I was not really getting them very, very clearly, but I think, the little that I was, getting, I think the point is very, very clear. The comrades are speaking the language that every African is expecting. We have reached a stage where we have information, we know them, and we are just ready now to call them criminals. When they steal, they are criminals. A criminal in Chibolia and a criminal in the UN building, or any capitalist who come in the name of, an investor, but they come to, to exploit our people. We just need to rise as Africans and demand what belongs to us. We should stop giving them special attention. When they come into Africa, our governments give them first-hand, and special treatment, even when they've just come to steal minerals, even when they've come to take over our companies. And this is exactly what is happening. Government of Zambia in the, PF regime never wanted to listen to me. It's like they were actually going to bed with the criminals. For me, UNFPA under the UN is a criminal institution, and we just need to call them what they are. Anyone who steals the knowledge of, of citizens is more dangerous than somebody who steals, a bicycle. Because how do you come and start stealing the mind after you have already stolen our minerals, after you have oppressed our people? Now you even want to come and start stealing our brains. How can they motivate me? Let me give you a practical example. 4 of my artists have died, and you know how many Zambian community theater artists are struggling. They have died. They were hoping at one time that for creating every SMUG, they were supposed to use drama, and that drama was supposed to create job opportunities for my artists. My organization has been limping. I have nothing to point at. When they are making millions, one organization in Lusaka, which the UNFPA cheated, that SMUG is their model, received 4.8 million pounds to create SMUGS for 2 years. 4.8 million pounds to create SMUGS for 2 years in 2 districts, when I did not get any royalty. These people have made huge, huge amounts of money. And my artists are suffering. I am suffering. All the literature, people have graduated with lies because of UNFPA. So for me, UNFPA and more international organizations are just criminal organizations that as Africans, we don't actually need. They are very stiff in changing their rules because they still want to continue oppressing us. We will not stand still. This is African Freedom Day. I have the freedom to celebrate and to enjoy Africa. That UN building with UNFPA inside, to me, it's another Jericho. And that Jericho must fall. We cannot fold our arms. We cannot respect rules when they don't actually want to respect our rules.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. That is a very powerful plea. Mr. Chimba, do you have anything to add to that?
Yes. Can you hear me, Dr. Banda? Dr. Banda, can you hear me?
I have no idea what this
I don't
problem
know.
is. Dr. Banda, can you hear?
I can't hear Mr. Chimba. I would have loved to hear him very, very clearly. I can hear you. It's perfect.
Wow.
For you, I'm hearing you.
I mean,
maybe
all my
Mr. Chimba, if you decided to take the earpiece off, perhaps that might help. But
is he hearing me?
You've muted.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Dr. Banda? See, he still can't hear me.
No. That's the strangest thing. Right. Go for it. Go for it. We'll try and interpret.
Right. So
sure. Yeah. I would have loved to hear Mr. Chimba. I can see the passion, in him.
Yeah.
It's very sad to hear Dr. Banda's story, but it's nothing new. You see that? I've always said the most expensive factor in a business is not money. It's the idea. They
intellectual
know,
property.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They know that this is a great idea, and they're looking at the idea and saying, if we can get it for free, we can ship it back in our countries,
Yeah,
make
and
a huge,
repackage it, bring it back.
repackage it, and then, you know, use it for the benefit of our people. But the biggest tragedy, though, is the lack of support that Dr. Banda has not gotten from our own, the Zambian government. We need PACRA, right? Patents and companies registration to strengthen the law, especially when it comes to domestic mines, like Dr. Banda. You see, without the protection from the government, we are going to face this problem, you know, for years to come, right? Now, this is one thing that just shocks me, right? We have the resources. How we have no control over those resources is just heartbreaking. Okay. Remember, we talked about increasing trade, intra-African trade, right?
Yeah.
The zeal that our forefathers showed to gain liberation or independence should be the same zeal we need to show economically. You see that? Why? Because as long as we do not have the financial power, we have no say in anything. You see that? How is it that minerals are mined in Africa and those minerals go to develop other countries? I've spoken about this before, where we're saying you bring in Vedanta, for instance. Vedanta owning 78% of mining activity in case here, right? One, Vedanta is not banking its profits in Zambia.
No.
Vedanta is selling its copper abroad, and all they are doing is they are wiring back operational funds to Zambia. Those operational funds are meant for simple maintenance works. They are meant for salaries. So as a Zambian, I sit back and say, are we content as a people to just draw a salary from our own resources? Now, when Vedanta sends that money abroad, the receiving government borrows that money from Vedanta, right? Zambia goes and borrows money from that government. Why are we going to borrow our own money?
Yeah.
Why?
Very good question.
Why are we going to borrow our own money? It doesn't.
So how do we, Mr. Chimba, emancipate ourselves from technicalities like those?
We have to be brave. We have to be truthful with one another. You see that? I advocated for data-driven policies. We have to make sure that we are analyzing policies from a data standpoint. We have to have the information. How much is Vedanta producing? Period. What grades of copper, if it's copper, or what grades emeralds are being produced? What is the real value of what is being produced? Right?
Do we not have experts who can value these things? Why do we have to depend on foreign experts to come and value our minerals?
Look at that.
These people are crooked. Sorry to say, these people are crooked. They run 3 books. One book for tax purposes, one book to show the Zambian government that they are losing, the third book to show their shareholders in their countries. You see that? Glencore has agreed to pay $1.6 billion in the UK and the US because they were investigated, they were evading tax, they were under-reporting profits, right? Glencore has invested in Zambia. Did we ever, as a country, bring them to book? No.
Nope. Did we even check ourselves to see?
Did we do that? No. That's the reason. That's the reason I say, look, we have a myriad of problems in Zambia. Yes, I agree, right? And we can't solve all these problems at once.
No.
But what we need to do is identify a sector where we're going to apply our energies, our knowledge, our intelligence, our money, and make sure that within that sector, we are reaping the benefits that must accrue to us. We have
And just to add on that, Shimba, use that as a template for all the other sectors.
Yes, use it as a template for the other sectors. That's the only way. Look, I never agree. I saw, a comment the other day when I said development cannot be achieved in 5 years, right? Somebody says it can. No, it depends what development you're talking about. There are levels of development that we need in Zambia, not just economic development. We need mental development. Why? Because there are certain things we do and we think they are okay, right? We have to have the mental strength.
Oh, good. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Power. You see,
Oh.
we need to have the mental power to make decisions that are progressive for the country. Otherwise, we'll keep talking and talking and talking. You see that? Those resources, companies come in, they say, oh no, your copper will only last 10, 15 years. And then they're bearing losses. Come on, guys. When is it going to change? It must start with the leadership. And I hope President Hakainde Hichilema will look at some of these things we talk about critically. Please, whatever very little you can do to change the narrative, please do it, because it's enough is enough. We cannot be going to borrow money from abroad, money that was drawn from our resources. We can't do that.
Exactly.
Absolutely. And just before I bring in Dr. Banda, because I can tell he's itching to add to what Mr. Chimbo was saying, but we need to sit down as TV Bakwetu and the other viewers, because in the last program, someone actually said to me, Linda, do you have someone taking notes as you're doing this? Because they felt that there was so much rich material. But unfortunately, we do not do that because everyone is hand on deck. But what I've decided that we should be doing is after the program, I will have a few of us look at the material and suggestions that have been made, and then we can collect them and turn them into some sort of booklet so that we have these ideas written down instead of us just talking and talking. Dr. Banda, what would you like to add to what Mr. Chimba said, please?
I've just heard the last part of, Mr. Simba's good points. We don't have the time. We have a new government, and the advantage of having a new government is that they are capable of changing the laws. They have the numbers in parliament, and we have a president who has made it very, very clear that he wants actually, to change the paradigm. What is weak are the systems. The colonial masters deliberately left systems which the other governments have come to enjoy without realizing that actually it was a trap by the colonial masters. Our president, we are appealing to him that he should not concentrate on policies. Policies on their own, they do not operate when the systems and the laws are conflicting. He has numbers in parliament. He has us as Zambians who are going to support him to make sure that he changes every colonial or imperialist driven policies or programs that hinders the country from going forward. Our minerals, we don't want to rely on foreign experts. We have experts who have worked in the mines, who have gotten education locally and abroad, who can actually run our mines in Zambia. We can do everything. The president and his government must trust Zambians and let these foreigners come and work with Zambians, with the Zambians taking the lead. They should not come using, using the skin or using, names of the states where they are coming from. We are ready. This is our country. This is our continent. And I think we have had enough. So we are appealing to the president, change the rotten systems that, the colonial masters left, change any law that, hinders you from making progress. Let me give you the examples of the laws that deliberately were meant to oppress the poor, Africans and Zambians particularly. Look at the Nole. Have you ever heard that a boy in Chibolia was given a Nole prosecute? There's never been such a thing. Have you ever heard that somebody stole a bicycle, in Kalingalinga or in ShopRite, and then the Anti-Corruption Commission made that person to pay and they were given amnesty? There's literally nothing like that. So those are repugnant laws. Those are repugnant systems that the new Dawn government, in their first, year, must make sure that they evaluate them, they remove every bottleneck, and we operate as Zambians. Don't bring so many foreigners who are flocking into the country to use their colors, to use their... Please, we have Zambians who can do miracles. I am one of the examples of uncelebrated heroes. Google today, and you'll be very shocked about what I'm talking about. SMUGS is not a small thing. It is not only used for safe motherhood. It is in malaria. It is in almost every health program now. So why should criminals from UNFPA, a foreign, imperialist organization, come and shut me down and also make sure that they bribe people not to talk about it? The same criminals come in the name of investors, and people forget about local investors. Let's respect the local investors. If they want to come, let them come and operate under us. We are not, we are not their slaves anymore. They did their slavery part, but we want to own Africa. We want to own them. We are not going to tolerate it. If it will mean breaking the law in order to regain our dignity as Africans, then we shall break those laws. But we trust in the current government, because I am very, very certain that they have numbers, they have a good president, in charge. We will change every archaic law where they are hiding these criminals, these colonial masters, these who are coming in the name of investors.
Thank you so much. You've raised so many important points there. The president has got very little appetite to see his people oppressed. Just today, he made a pronouncement that one of those colonial laws are going to be a thing of the past.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we can be very hopeful that things are going to change.
Yes.
Do you have anything to add to what Dr. Banda has said and what Mr. Chim?
Yeah, but Madam Banks, a lot of important issues have been said here, and we've been talking about them every day. Why should we Africans suffer, and our colonizers and foreigners are coming and enjoying in our country? Some of the mines, they even bring artisans as expatriates. Wow. We've got Zambia at ZCCM trained a lot of engineers, mining engineers. I went to when I was in South Africa, I visited a place called Rustenburg. I don't know whether you guys know where Rustenburg is.
Yes.
The province. That's the powerhouse of the mines in South Africa, chromium, copper. I was shocked that in that town, small town, predominantly white, on the border with Botswana, there are so many Zambian engineers trained by ZCCM. They are mining engineers, they are chemical engineers, they are geologists. So they are Zambians. So if say you guys said something like, let's pick up a sector and use that sector as an example. And that sector we can pick up is mining. There's no any other sector in Zambia that we can pick up and use it as an example going forward.
Exactly.
And this is why we were saying, why should we allow traders to continue having 78% in our mines who are KCM?
No, we shouldn't.
These are traders. Why can't we say, okay, we've got 22%. Why can't we get another 28% and get 50%? Because as long as we have no controls in those mines, they will be cooking the figures.
Exactly.
And then somebody mentioned about the laws. The UK, thank God I came to the UK. the things I've learned here, they don't play games. These guys, the owner of Glencore has been banned in UK, in Europe.
Exactly.
You see?
Absolutely.
You see?
Yeah. But
He's a criminal because of tax evasion.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Tax evasion
Exactly.
is a criminal offense.
Yeah.
But he
We're
comes to
receiving
Zambia and buy the mine at 25 million.
Yeah.
And now he wants 1.5 billion for the mine he bought at 20. Who has bewitched us?
We will not allow those criminals to do that.
So now the example is, look at the Swanas. The Swanas. Botswana was nothing until the beers came there. You know what would have happened in Zambia? They would have bribed every minister, including the president. But not my president now. If he was there, they wouldn't do it. But they would have bribed everybody. The Swanas stood. I had to go to Botswana with my colleague, who was Dan Moroka. He's the guy who came and saved BP Zambia. And then he moved to Cape Town. And then we met in Cape Town. So I wanted to know why the Swanas are different. Then he took me to Botswana. And then he told me the story of the Botswana. That's why I talk about all the time, because I've been there. I've been to the Botswana. So the point is, they said no. The diamonds belong to the Swanas. We are not going to put a cent. We are giving you the minerals, which belongs to the Swana. Bring the capital. We work together 50-50.
Yes, exactly.
And you know what they do? The money comes into the Reserve Bank of Botswana. The only thing the beers take is dividends and profits.
Thank you,
Let me say something real quick to that, Patrick. And you're very right. Okay. The reason there's a difference between Botswana and Zambia is that we were under dictatorial rule for 27 years. People could not speak out. The way we are sharing ideas, who could do this? Nobody could do this. You see that? As a result, that's why I said we need mental development. Mental development will encompass us, recognizing that we actually have the right to free speech. We do.
Exactly.
See that? If at independence the message was free speech, freedom of association, freedom of press, trust me, these arguments would have been had 1967, 1968, and today, Zambia would be a paradise. The other biggest problem, I've talked about it, the dependency syndrome. 1964 was the worst mistake. Why? Because those leaders were promising our people free things. Nothing comes for free. Nothing.
No such thing as a free lunch.
There's no such thing as a free lunch. You see that? So there are some of our people that have grown up, socialized to believe that I can just ask for something for free and it's okay.
Can I just pause you there, Mr. Chimba? That is
yes.
very important. That's a very important point you've raised. And this is streamlined into families as well, where a grown man will be asking for I'm like, why? Yeah. So that is very important. So we probably need to start this emancipation of the Negro, as I call it, the re-education of a black man, starting from the ground. Perhaps have it embedded in the education curriculum where kids from year 3, year 4, they're being taught about being independent, being able to look after yourself, being able to take pride in looking after yourself, not all the time going around with a begging bowl. We've got them. If you take, for instance, I know Mr. Chufia talks about the United Kingdom so much. It's because we have seen how things are done. We don't grow very much. We don't produce very much in terms of food. But this is one of the wealthiest places on the planet. The soil is not fertile. The weather is atrocious. Everyone knows this. Nothing grows much. If you're lucky, you have outside in the garden, you have a box of strawberries. I've tried to put in my garden. It just doesn't work. Later on a large scale, everything is imported. But because they have systems and structures in place that ensure that the money that they are fleecing from other countries like Zambia, for it to be perfectly honest, is taken care of.
Carry on.
Yeah, very to Derela. And the other thing is, I try to be rational, right? I don't just look at these people coming to exploit us. No, I look at us as a people. You see
should
that?
take responsibility.
Absolutely. Where's the docility? Where does it come from? You see, I think we pride ourselves in being told, "Oh, Zambians are peaceful. Zambians are nice."
Let people like sometimes I think
peace won't put food on the table.
We have to be militant. We
Yeah.
have to be
We need
militant.
to. Exactly.
Where is our pride? Where is our pride? I live in the UK and I'm bragging. I come from Zambia, the largest producer of copper in the world.
Yeah.
And yet everybody in the UK knows that KCM, the owners of KCM and Glencore, they're exploiting us. All they're giving us is pollution.
Absolutely. Can I just tell you something based on what you just said? This I sit on this board. They've got like a group of private schools, senior schools, Mr. Chief, you know this, and they are like the cream of the of their fields. If they're in banking, they're like the best, And these people, after the board meetings, you'll be standing around having drinks and chatting. I was really, really flabbergasted, to be honest. Most of them, they work in Africa. And so what do you do? Oh, I'm a consultant. Where? Uganda. One guy, actually, I work
Look
in
at
Zambia.
that.
In Zambia. Where at Iteji? Dude, when did you move to Iteji? They make serious money in Africa. And I was the only African, and I'm thinking, am I the only African who's not making money in Africa? Because all these Mzungus, they work there. They're just coming to send their children to this very expensive private school, boarding, whatever. So it's quite shocking that there is wealth in Africa and Africans are not reaping anything from it.
You see, Linda, sorry, real quick. I think the biggest problem is we politicize everything. We are too much into politics, and we don't give ourselves time to focus on the real issues. I think that's what the biggest problem is in Zambia, in Africa, for instance. And then we have greedy individuals. Look at the DRC, the smartphones we all use. There's a mineral called coltan. It's only mined in the DRC. Why do you think there's always conflict in that country? Because it's the divide and conquer strategy. But we as
exactly.
We as the people in the DRC have not sat down to talk about what the real issues are. Why?
Exactly.
Because we are greedy. You see that? Let me say this other thing real quick. The Western world has used the issue of tribal groupings to their advantage. They will make sure you are identified as Lozi, as Tonga, as Bemba, as
exactly,
and that. You see that? America is a multiracial, multi-ethnic society. Why are there such distinctions when it comes to the economy? Yes, there's discrimination here and there, but that is not as pronounced as it to be able to take down the whole economy. Look at what they did to Rwanda. Tutsis. Yeah, you see that? So why can we as a people sit and be honest with each other and say, guys, the only way we can advance as a country, first of all, as a continent, second, right, is to be truthful with each other. Let's look at what we have. The cake is big enough for every person in the DRC to benefit. It makes sad reading to read about the conflicts and how people are displaced and how people are so poor they can't even access healthcare facilities. They don't have running water and things like that. It's pathetic. You see that? Look at Zambia today, right? What percent of Zambia is rural? Why should that be the case? Why? Why should it be the case? You have the minerals. You have probably the most fertile soils. You have water bodies in Zambia. Why?
And we are told that there are 25, gold districts in Zambia. Gold is everywhere in Zambia. We have uranium. What don't we have in Zambia, Mweban?
Emeralds.
Why? We have everything.
Even oil. We've got oil in Zambia on the border with Angola.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because how can Angola?
And they want permission from a white man. They want a permission from.
It's the same belt.
It's right.
So, just like copper.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Bane, we need to wake up before it's too late. Yeah. If our friends, even South Africa, the South Africans are not stupid. South Africans, when it comes to foreign companies remitting the money, they've got the tightest foreign exchange control. South Africa, Botswana has copied from South Africa. I work for Castro. Castro, we used to remit our dividends to the UK. Even BP, you can only remit profits. Only all the sales have to stay in the country. If it was in Zambia, Castro and BP, they would have been sending all the money to the UK.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now,
why?
Gentlemen,
why?
Listen, how about now, Mr. Chirufia, just a thought. I think perhaps we need to come up with a program where we only talk solutions, because we know
exactly.
But the solution to that, Mrs. Banks, is less corruption, because corruption is involved. Strengthen the laws, because the UK is able to catch people like the owner of Glencore, those criminals. And because the UK, I'm an accountant, Manasasha. The UK has got the strongest transfer pricing regulations. They overtax companies that have opened branches in what is known as havens, tax havens. So if, say, I'm running a company in the UK and I'm supplying products to Switzerland or what do you call Bahamas, those tax havens, they have to tax me at 45%.
Exactly.
Instead of 20-something percent. Because they're trying to protect the country. Why can't we do the same? We've got educated people in Zambia at that revenue authority. And then we've got a new government. Why can't they strengthen the laws? All the copper mines, when they sell the copper, like Botswana, 50% of the sales come to Botswana. Then the other 50 goes to London. That's where De Beers is. So they split in between. Now imagine they sell something like 50 billion a year. 25 billion comes to Botswana. Botswana is the only African country that lends money to IMF today.
Look at that. Look at that.
And we only need one industry to
that's one industry. Botswana has got only one gold mine. One. The Botswana.
And we have too much gold in Zambia.
Only one gold mine.
Now, comrades, I want to appreciate your support, and this program has come at the right time. Us who are here home, we will not sit and just talk on social media and on platforms like that. You can count on us. I have been a revolutionary youth leader in this country, and I am one person who is not going to be interfered politically or otherwise. We are starting a revolution. It's generation takeover. If they did so much to us, we are now starting a generation takeover, a platform. Every quarter we'll be having a protest as well as a demonstration to raise these issues that you comrades are talking about. I have informed the police that I'll be having quarterly processions. At one time, it will be done the whole country, because we don't want to be idle. We have never been idle. We know the criminals. We know the systems that are rotten. Starting on 31st, on Tuesday next week, we have one where we want to give solidarity to the government to make sure that the criminals are caged. Okay, the rotten systems are changed. We will not have a procession just once. It will be a quarterly one, because we want action. We don't want our government to go to sleep. We don't want criminals to be celebrated, whether in the political arena, whether in the civil service, whether in the UN, whether in the private sectors. Criminals, we are warning them now that it's generation takeover, and I will lead that generation take over. I led a youth movement which was very powerful for 10 years in this country, and I am leading a generation takeover to address those things that you are talking about, comrades.
Yeah, it's you're right. It's time to wake up, but our revolution is different from that revolution of Mposa Mabwe.
Exactly.
This one, we are educated. We can talk. We can engage our leaders, and I'm pretty confident. This government is only 9 months in power. Give them 5 years. I think they will listen, and I'm confident on KCM they will make a good decision. And on Mopani, they will negotiate. They will go to them and say, let's renegotiate. Yeah. Because I've never seen anything like that. But the point is, look at how corrupt that government was. You know, they went and negotiated. Copper now is at $10,000 per ton. Then they said they were going to be selling it to them at 3,000. And they're still paying the debt. So these guys are smiling, going to the bank, you know, so they are selling that copper at 10,000. They are buying it from Zambia at 3,000. They are traders.
Exactly.
So we are giving them copper for free. How can you do that to your country? And then today they wake up and say, what did he say what did Mr. Lungu say, Pachidilo, at the funeral, at hypocrisy? That kind of, you know, these people are, you know, because Akainde Ichilema is like Mandela. He's so nice, he's forgiven them, and then they come and talk about hypocrisy. After all that they missed 10 years, we've lost 10 years to those criminals. Over to you, Kelvin Chan.
Over to Linda.
She wasn't there. She wasn't
there.
Oh,
yes. Just came back. No, I mean, I agree with you. It's about time. Like I said, you know, like the Chinese say, you know, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. We need to do that. We need to, again, be open with each other, right? Let's stop playing politics at every, you know, opportunity we get, because that scene is not going to take us anywhere. We have, you know, these companies coming into our country, raping us of our resources, billions of dollars. You see, that's the one thing. I'm glad, you know, the New Dawn government has implemented a free education policy. But guess what? My opinion is we don't need free education. We need jobs.
Exactly.
We need jobs. We need to develop a private sector, a Zambian-driven private sector. Zambians will be able to afford to pay for their children to go to school.
Yeah.
Period. Okay. That's what we need. Why? Because it's going to come from free education or to free food or to free this. Remember the subsidies story of Kaunda? What happened when Kaunda and government could not provide, you know, sustain those subsidies? Riots, food riots. You see that? That's the mentality we're trying to get, you know, a lot of Zambians to jump onto. Right, free things compromise standards. That's just a fact. You see that we want good standards in education. How do we fund that? President HH, if you are listening, as you negotiate with these mines, I would like you as a Zambian who loves my country so much. If you cannot determine how much they are producing, let's change the law, the financial law, and say, if you're going to send your money outside of Zambia, you pay 45% tax.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You keep your money in Zambia to develop Zambia, you pay 25%. That's what China has done. I've said it before. That's what China has done. You can go and invest in China as a foreign company. Your corporate income tax, 25%. If you decide to send your money outside of China, 45% tax. That's a deterrence, because the Chinese know that money that stays in China will create jobs, will support innovation, will support the industrial base. They'll be able to make money and lend to Zambia at astronomical interest rates. They are sitting back in air-conditioned rooms and saying, oh, the money is coming. If they can't pay, we'll take over their mines for free. Mwebantu, please, Zambia. Let's have it in our hearts to defend this country and do the right things for this country for once.
Thank you.
And Kelvin, the other thing is tax, they can manipulate it. In China and other countries, they've got stronger laws to punish those people. We might not do it. So the key is the Botswanan type of thing. Let's go 50-50. Management 50. So Imwenga to 10 billion worth of copper in a year, you can take your 5 billion and we tax it. But the other 5 billion remains in Zambia because we are 50%.
And Bachirufia,
that corporate supervision has to be strengthened. And these are laws. They can pass statutes and laws.
Yeah.
Instruments.
And just piggybacking off of that point, right? We can start with that and say, okay, we have the mineral wealth, we have the land, we have the mines. You bring in the capital. We are going 50-50, right?
That's the Botswanan style.
Now, as we go 10, 15, 20 years down the line, I would love the Zambian government to start reducing its indebtedness to that partner so that at some point, Zambia has 80, 90, 100% of those mines and just employ expert management. Chapwa.
Yeah.
And Kelvin, unlike the 60s and 70s, we've got Zambians running mines.
Exactly.
So why can't we bring them as expatriates to come and use that knowledge, exposure, come and develop their own countries? Instead of bringing an artisan from South Africa, earning twice as a Zambian graduate.
Thank you.
Human resource is no longer an excuse in Zambia. We have human resource. There are Zambians all over the world who are doing fine. We don't want anyone else to come and ride on the name of human resource, qualification. We have all those things now. It's time to take over. It's time to appeal to our very good government now to work with Zambians to make sure that all those systems and policies and laws that are repugnant are simply changed, because the government has a cabinet in numbers, they have the parliament in numbers. They need our support. They need the citizens to speak out. Government on their own, they cannot operate because they have these sponsored, the colonial masters, how the capitalists do. They create groups which actually can be sponsored. They can lobby. Okay, so we also need to unite in good numbers. Let's support our government policies. When government want to raise a policy that is controversial, let's back it. Let's back it. Let's rise in numbers so that the sponsored criminals, the sponsored campaigns are overpowered by the citizens of this country.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mrs. Banks,
just a second.
Just 1 minute, Mrs. Banks, before you go. On the human capital, Bachanda will help me, is in America. When you look at in America, in every big industry, there is a Zambian who is a big shot. I know a Zambian who works for Microsoft. He is a powerful Zambian, trained by ZCCM. He was trained in the UK through ZCCM. I don't want to mention his name. There is a Zambian who works in South Korea. Samsung is a top guy there. So we've got Zambians in almost every industry in the world, even Wall Street. So why can't we bring them, encourage them to come back to Zambia, expatriate conditions, and develop our countries?
Thank you very much. So many important points that you've all raised.
We just want to warn the criminals and the foreigners who think snatch up in Zambia. They will find it very difficult.
Thank you, Dr. Banda.
They are coming thinking that Zambians are around. We shall support the government. We shall make sure that we give them space. But We will not tolerate sponsored, trips to come to Africa, to come to Zambia, to come and oppress our people. We will call those who are in the diasporas with skills and abilities to come and give back to Mother Zambia. And we are there as Zambians to be watching now, because
Thank
we
you
don't
very
have the
much.
cadres to push us around.
Thank
We
you
have
very
a
much.
government that has brought back sanity and peace. This is the reason why we have this freedom. This is the reason why we can talk like this, and the world is hearing. My first assignment is to get back my SMUGS from these criminals. Researchers cannot be writing wrong names. People should not be graduating with lies. I am around, but I am going to make sure that we mobilize ourselves as Zambians in a very civilized manner, in a very democratic manner, in support with the government that we feel has actually come to stabilize,
Banda,
and given us a platform to be speaking like normal
Dr.
people.
Banda, we will end it there. Thank you very much. I can hear the passion in your voice. We're running out of time. Thank you so much for coming. I think the last point.
What has happened, comrade? Your voice has gone, Lynn.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, all right, Dr. Banda. Sorry, we're going to have to end it there because we're running out of time. And I just wanted to close with this remark. Human capital, I think it's not a problem that we should be worrying about right now. You mentioned quite a lot of Zambians in diaspora and at home who are experts at many things. Just last night, I got an amazing phone call from one of my new favorite Zambians who was at NASA. He's staying there for a long duration of time, Professor Clive Chilwa, and he's having a wonderful time hanging out with the scientists at NASA. And I'm like, why aren't you in Zambia helping with these sort of things? So human capital is not really a problem anymore. We just need to try and utilize. We've got another amazing lady, Dambisa Moyo, incredible economist. The West use her to implement so many amazing things, but why do we not use her? So human capital is not a problem. And gentlemen, you have been very passionate as usual. And thank you so much for joining me on this incredible program. This has been a presentation of TV Bakwetu. And I was joined by Mr. Chanda Kelvin Chishimba and Dr. Banda, who wants to get his innovation back or compensated for his innovation. Very passionate man. And as usual, Mr. Chilofia, you were brilliant. And I have been your host, Linda Banks, and it's good night from me, and God bless you and God bless our country. Good night.